2021 is swiftly passed into law. More of the detail as Shaka reports.
NSSF Managing Director Richard Byarugaba said last Thursday the fund is finalizing a shift in the fund system to allow for payout. Mr. Byarugaba said this was necessary because the current system, as enshrined in the policy, would not permit the fund to implement a midterm access. Mr. Byarugaba said the fund projects payout of midterm benefits this year alone to hit the 500 billion shillings mark. Midterm access of up to 20% benefits for those who are 45 years and above and have made regular contributions for at least 10 years was endorsed by President Museveni on August the 4th. It, however, hit a snag when Speaker of Parliament Jacob Oulanyah annulled business from the 10th Parliament. This included the NSSF Amendment Bill of 2019 that granted access to the benefits. This forced the government to introduce the bill, which was tabled for first reading on September 29th. The Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development, Ms. Betty Among, who is responsible for the bill, assured Ugandans that the government will have the law ready by the end of this month. The 11th Parliament has waived a number of provisions in the elaborate process of making a law to allow for expeditious passing of the bill. Instead of 45 days, the Speaker directed that the committee stage take only 8 days. Ms. Amongi is also optimistic that since most of the provisions had already been debated, Parliament will not take long. If all goes smoothly and the bill is passed, it will be sent back to the President for assent.
Mrs. Amongi is quite a bit optimistic that since most of the provisions had already been debated, Parliament will not take a lot of time. And if at all goes smoothly, when the bill is passed, it will be sent back to the President for assent. And if the bill is actually passed into law, those about 45 years will actually access 20% of their NSSF funds that they have actually been saving for the last few years. They've actually been working in public office or in other offices as well. Now, checking out South Sudan, scrapped off visa requirements for the Ugandans. Now, the Ugandans who will be traveling to South Sudan will require no visas as the world's youngest country scraps off visa requirements for one of its largest trading partners. Shaka Njanabo has more.
Ugandans traveling to South Sudan will require no visas as the world's youngest country scraps visa requirements for one of its largest trading partners. In a notice from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperatives, South Sudan said that Ugandans with valid travel documents will require no visa to enter the country. The move comes just 2 weeks after First Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for East African Affairs Rebecca Kadaga said South Sudan should reciprocate scrapping visa and related fees that Ugandans had already scrapped. The move by the two trading partners in the East African community will strengthen trade relations and bilateral cooperation. Uganda and South Sudan have strong ties, with Uganda hosting a number of high-profile South Sudan citizens and refugees. South Sudan has been struggling to shake off unending civil strife that has not only affected its economy but has impacted its neighbors. South Sudan is Uganda's second leading export destination in the East African community after Kenya. Data from the Bank of Uganda indicates that in July, $36.7 million, which is approximately 130 Ugandan billion shillings worth of goods were exported to South Sudan, with the leading exports being cereals, maize and wheat flour, sugar, vegetable oils, beer, soft drinks, iron, steel, cement and motor.
So to any business owner out there, so any business or trader who is definitely out there, you will definitely need no visa if at all you are to travel to South Sudan. South Sudan is actually the second, the second in standings of the export of Uganda's exportation routes because Kenya comes in at number 1, and if you look at South Sudan, is actually the second leading export destination in the East African community from Uganda. And according to the data from the Bank of Uganda, that in July, over 36.7 million US dollars, roughly 130 billion shillings worth of goods were exported to South Sudan, with the leading exports having been cereals, maize, wheat flour, sugar, vegetable oils, beer, soft drinks, iron, steel, cement and motor vehicle re-exports. Lastly, with our local news in regards to the business, if we are heading to the Uganda Airlines. Now, the Uganda Airlines has promised to launch more flight routes to various destinations across the country. Mrs. Doreen Nambacha Molindo, the sales and marketing manager at the Uganda Airlines, while speaking with Smart 24 TV, said that since Uganda has the Airbus, it is enough equipment to launch more routes to other destinations. More of this report. Uganda's national carrier on Monday made its maiden trip to Dubai, the first into flight for the carrier since it was revamped 2 years ago. Uganda Airlines officials say that the destination is popular with Ugandan travelers who go there for both business and leisure. Doreen Nambatia notes that the national carrier is expected to add more destinations, include Dubai, China, Lusaka, and London.
Right now, you've just heard that we have Dubai. We are soon looking at trying to launch London. We are thinking about China, that is Guangzhou. We are thinking about Bombay and many others that are coming online, Lusaka and many others. Right now, since we have the right equipment like the Airbus, definitely we are thinking of even opening more routes. So Dubai came in because it came at the right time. We have the right equipment, we have done the necessary arrangements, we have the landing rights and everything in place.
On the matter of the state of the aviation sector in Uganda, Doreen Nambatia notes that there is a slow growth rate, but the airline is picking up due to COVID, but the growth curve is promising. She also notes that all crews are following and enforcing the different standard operating procedures for the safety.
Very much aware of the safety. For example, we are in the COVID-19 times with rules, the set standard rules. All our crews are well aware of all the procedures. Everyone on board has to have a mask on. They have to have, even the crew, they have to have their masks on throughout. And the aircraft is made into the way, was made, designed in a way that it does not transmit. You can't get COVID on board. So we follow all the SOPs as per the COVID rules. And you asked about the state of the airline. Right now it is growing. It is a bit slow. It was slowed down, but now we are growing. We are picking up. We were slowed down because of the COVID-19 period, because we had to close some of the routes. We had to reduce the flights, the number of flights to certain routes, and we were also limited on the expanding the at which we were expanding the new routes. We had to put it to a hold. So it has slowed us down. But in any way, we are growing. It is growing. It is we have a good, curve of growth. We are growing.
The national carrier still has plans of expanding the capacity to more planes, but this would only be possible if there is more demand, as this would call for more equipment, facilitate the airline, as well as more partnerships with various stakeholders in the economy.
Are there to support and grow this airline, and they really see we have to, for example, you have to operate 4 flights or 5 flights a day to certain routes. Definitely there will be demand, but when we have not fully utilized this equipment, so these Airbuses, it's not right for us to request for others. But I'm so sure the government is aware, once we approach them, that really we have fully utilized and there is need of more equipments, they will definitely support and be able to give us more equipment, acquire more equipment. Many people are approaching us. You'll be seeing us more on our media pages. We shall be updating you, and we are still open. But they shouldn't be one-sided. We should be a win-win situation. Let us be also gaining as an airline, as well as those people requesting for this memorandum of understanding. But there are many coming on. I cannot disclose them, but there are more coming in. Let us leave a surprise.
Last month, the United Arab Emirates took Uganda off its red list, allowing the airline to proceed with plans to fly to Dubai. According to the Uganda Civil Aviation Authority, 5,800 passengers were flying from Entebbe to Dubai every month by 2017. Uganda Airlines is currently flying regional routes using 4 Bombardier CRA-900 crafts, as for months it has been planning to embark on long-haul routes after it acquired 2 bigger Airbus A330 neocrafts. Before Uganda Airlines became difficult, flew to several international destinations. After it was revamped in 2019, began flying regional routes, plans to get on more intercontinental routes. Currently, the airline flies regional routes to Dar es Salaam, Juba, Kilimanjaro, Mogadishu, Mombasa, Nairobi, and Zanzibar. Others are Harare, Kinshasa, and Johannesburg. All right, now let's head to the international scene, and we start off from Nigeria, as Fidelity Bank of Nigeria has paved the way for corporate contribution to Nigeria's non-oil sector development. Due to the global oil shock triggered by the COVID-19 pandemic, Nigeria's economic vulnerability is glaring as GDP growth declined by 6.1% and 3.6% in the second and third quarters of 2020. More of the details.
Data from the Policy Development Facility Bridge program indicates that Nigeria's dependency on oil exports for government revenue and foreign exchange earnings has long been at odds with the sector's contribution of just 8.33% to the country's gross domestic product. Strengthening the non-oil export sector of the economy has therefore become a matter of utmost necessity, and leading financial institution Fidelity Bank PLC is working to address this, having recognized the need long before the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2016, for instance, the bank, in partnership with Nigerian Export Promotion Council and the Pan-African University, launched the Export Management Program. The program, which is scheduled to hold on 2 locations across the country in October 2021, in an industry-focused program aimed at equipping existing and prospective exporters with knowledge needed to thrive in the non-oil export industry and the larger global export market. Over the years, Fidelity Bank 3MP has empowered hundreds of individuals within the non-oil export sector, with many beneficiaries attesting to the positive impact of the program on their business. The bank has given out around 25 billion naira in new credits to indigenous businesses operating in the non-oil export and agriculture sectors in 2020. Through the support it is giving players in the non-oil and agribusiness sectors, Fidelity Bank is helping to improve Nigeria's foreign exchange earnings and consequently its GDP.
And lastly, in regards to our news hour, the US government has hailed Uganda for taking in the Afghanistans. The Secretary of State Anthony Blinken spoke by telephone with Albanian Prime Minister Edi Rama, who announced as the Taliban were taking over Kabul that he had agreed to request to accept hundreds of Afghans temporarily on their way to the United States. The United States on Thursday saluted Albania, Canada, Chile, Mexico and Uganda for agreeing to take in Afghans being executed in a major airlift after the Taliban victory. Now, the Secretary of State Anthony Blinken spoke by telephone with Albanian Prime Minister Edi Rama, who announced Sunday, just as the Taliban were taking over Kabul, that he had agreed to a request to accept hundreds of Afghans temporarily on their way to the United States. Blinken thanked Prime Minister Rama for continuing Albania and his proud tradition of sheltering people in need. That is a State Department statement. From the State Department spokesperson Ned Price, who offered appreciation to Uganda, where President Museveni voiced willingness to take in Afghans temporarily and said discussions were ongoing with several European allies to do likewise. The Canadian government said last week it will take in up to 20,000 Afghan refugees, including women leaders, government workers and others facing threats from the Taliban government. The United States has agreed to welcome on a path to citizenship tens of thousands of Afghans who suffered as interpreters or in other support roles in the 20-year U.S. war effort that was ended by President Joe Biden. Yes, as we are winding up, as you can definitely see, the United States government has actually said Ugandan government and thanked it for taking part in housing, or should I say, welcoming the Afghans in Uganda. All right, now that brings us to the end of our news hour. Coming up, we have topical discussion. Keep it SMB.